Welcome to episode 5 of He Was 58, and I was 14. This time, he took me to the place where he had grown up, a place deep in the bush. He drove all the way up into the hills, and by the time we arrived, it was really late and dark. There were no houses nearby, and the only light came from the moon in the sky. The night was peaceful and beautiful. At the back of his van, he took out a tarpaulin and spread it on the ground, covering it with trash. We both lay there as he told me. He told me about his mom, his dad, and his siblings. They weren't rich, but their life was okay. Still, I couldn't help but wonder, at what point did he end up like this? He was a grown man with children and even grandchildren. Why would he think of dating another woman's child, an underage girl? This wasn't anything I had ever wanted in my life. As we lay there, rolling from side to side, I stared up at the sky, listening to him talk. He told me stories about their outdoor kitchen, how they used to go to the spring for water, and how they would always head to the farm and come back with whatever they could. He told me how his mother would cook big pots of food while his siblings went to school. He faced challenges growing up, and as he opened up to me, I listened closely. As I lay there, reflecting, his words painted such a vivid picture that it felt as if I were right there, experiencing his childhood alongside him. I started thinking about life, about my own parents. My mind drifted to my mother. I remembered her telling me how, when she was just 7 years old, she lost her mother. From that point on, she had to live with her stepmother, who treated her terribly. Eventually, she had no choice but to leave and go live with her uncle in Kingston. He took her in and cared for her, but even then, things didn't work out smoothly. When tensions arose between her uncle and his wife, she was sent back to the countryside where she had originally come from. As we remained deep in the bush, he told me what he wanted to do to me. And then he did. Afterward, he fell asleep as if he had no care in the world. By the time we woke up, it was way past midnight. We headed back home, but I couldn't sleep. Like I mentioned before, we were in the middle of the wilderness, completely alone in the dark hills. I was terrified, thinking that anything could happen. So, I just lay there, watching the moon and the stars. One question kept running through my mind. Even though I had told my mother that he wanted me to follow him to the farm, had she ever really thought about what that meant? Had it ever crossed her mind to wonder if he would touch me? If he would sleep with me? She just sent me without hesitation. She just let me go. Had it ever occurred to her to ask if I was sexually active? Was it simply a lack of care, or was it something else? Did she not want to risk losing all the goodies we received? What was she thinking? Was she too young to truly understand what was happening? I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was like, I've mentioned before that sometimes, as parents, we focus on what we can gain from others, what they can do for us, without thinking about how it affects someone else. That night, when I got home, I went to bed. The next day, he called me in the morning to check on me, and again in the evening. He kept a close watch over me, making sure I never left the house without him knowing. If I did, he wanted to know where I was going, with whom, and at what time. If he didn't approve, he would tell me not to go. Sometimes, before I could even get ready, he would show up at my house, insisting that I go with him to the farm. It was crazy. Like I said before, it felt as if there was no way out. Everything happening in the world today, in 2025, reminds me of that life of feeling trapped, of feeling like there was no hope. I'll explain more in episode 6. Thank you for following me on this journey. Sharing my story is helping me process my past. And more importantly, I hope it helps young girls and boys who may be facing similar challenges find the strength to overcome. Please remember to like and subscribe,